Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwantner and welcome to Selling Power TV. Today we have the pleasure of meeting with Ryan Kubacki. He's the president of Holden International.
Yeah, great to be here, Gerhard. Thanks for having me.
So, this is a competitive environment, this economy, where everybody is getting a little bit nervous, and the question that bubbles up over and over is, how do I compete more effectively?
That's right. It's competitive sales strategy. Basically, what are you counting on to win? And I think this is a huge opportunity for selling forces everywhere in the world right now. We're in a very, very hyper-competitive market where in order to grow, you have to actually take market share. And we're, as a country, we've always been focused on how do you compete at the headquarter level, at the product level? How do you have the right kind of business plans and product strategies to go to market? Well, now it's time to complement those efforts with how do you help sellers compete at the opportunity level.
Right.
And
Hold on. You mentioned sellers competing at an opportunity level, because what I hear most about is how do you develop a competitive strategy, which suggests it's global, so that people say this is us versus the competition. And you're saying you got to fine-tune it and make it more granular and say, how do I compete with each opportunity or for each opportunity?
No, that's right. You have to, the first half of the message is, as a company, how does our products and value compete against your competitor?
Right.
But all that's really relevant for a seller is that their particular sale, who's making the right decisions, and what value is relevant to that particular deal to win that deal against that particular competitor at that particular time. And it's basically competitive sales strategy nets out, what are you counting on to win a deal? And I've asked that question to many, many sellers, and I never get an answer. Or if I do, it's an hour long. And more specifically, competitive sales strategy is the ability to develop insightful direction to win. Insight means relevant value from a lot of information that shows how you can improve a customer's business that's A, differentiated from the competition at that point of sale, and B, recognized by the influential people at the customer. We call them the customer's power base, as you know. But then secondly, in terms of direction, doing those kinds of messages, delivering it to the right people at the right time in the right order. And then in order to win, winning's not only taking down your competitor's strategy, but doing so in a way that increases your customer loyalty while also increasing your company's profits.
So you've mentioned like 5 different variables, and for a lot of salespeople, that's challenging to examine all those variables. And for example, let's talk about pick one out, the influencers.
Okay.
Who is a decision maker, who is an influencer, who is invisible and yet has power that we don't know how to deal with. What is the best strategy to assemble all those pieces of information so you have a clear plan for moving forward?
Well, that's the point. It's to actually, a lot of sellers have the will to win. You have to have the will to prepare to win. You have to first have the ability to really develop insight. And that's something that needs to be talked about, because in this sales 2.0 world, there's a lot of data or points on domain. But as you go up a knowledge continuum and organize data, you can, with a purpose, you can develop information.
Right.
The world is full of data and information. As you go up that continuum from information, you need to develop the human quality of insight. What's the most relevant pieces of that information? Then ultimately wisdom. How do you apply that insight? So for example, I was just doing a deal coaching session with a Fortune 10 company, massive executive meeting out in their headquarters, and there were several customers that this account team wanted to take to meet their CEO. But all that really mattered was who was really going to make that decision. They understood who had the formal authority. They hadn't spent time to develop insight into really who had the influence. And so we catered our messaging to the person that had the right influence. We call them the power base, or we call them the fox, as you know, and developed a competitive sales strategy around people of influence to win that particular deal.
So how did you do the deal coaching with a CEO? Because CEOs have a big ego, and they're in many cases not teachable.
Well, except they tend to be very strategic. And this is very advanced, right? We're not talking about how to do a sales meeting or how to do some very foundational. Sure. This is very advanced. We're talking about extremely large deals, north of 100 million oftentimes. So you get the CEO's attention. And it's no different than how they've been trained. They've been trained to think strategically, but usually at the product and the headquarter, the market level. Now we're taking that kind of thinking and creating business plans at the deal or opportunity level. And this is where it actually gets really fun, because it's a chess match. Because you're not really trying to take down your competitor. You're just trying to beat your competitor's strategy at that particular time. time.
Right.
So understanding what are they doing, why are they doing what they're doing, who are they calling on, why, and creating a strategy and approach that gives you the insight before your competitors do to win a particular deal.
So you really need two bodies of knowledge. One body of knowledge is the competitive strategy, and the other body of knowledge is knowing the customer's business and how the customer creates customers.
This is very important. A lot of people have a misconception that selling is about delivering business value to a customer and your focus should be on the customer. Maybe before, but in the world of advanced competitive selling, your focus is on your competitor. Your customer becomes the battlefield. If you think about that for a second.
Right.
So in order to effectively take down your competitor, I mean, these are people trying to take your livelihood, right? I mean, you got to take them out before they take you out, right? It's a contact sport. You have to be able to take their strategy down. You have to develop business value for the customer. Right. You have to create customer loyalty. Those are all byproducts and necessary parts of being your competitor. So a lot of it is the competitive orientation that I think people have an opportunity to view their job differently.
So you said earlier you need to have the will to prepare in addition to the will to win. How do you develop that will to prepare? Is it desperation?
No, I think this is where we talk about as an organization how the executives need to really rethink kind of the core competencies of their organizations and complement what has to be strong product strategies and differentiation. That can't go away. Let's make we're just trying to unhook the dependency on those things.
Right.
So it starts with the executive recognition that yes, this needs to be something as a culture we're focused on, and basically people do what is inspected. And so it's taking the time to develop strategic sales plans, but then having a culture that celebrates, promotes, recognizes really strong leading indicators, forward-looking behaviors that we know are necessary to take down your competitors at important must-wins.
Ryan, those are very interesting points. We're going to continue our conversation with Ryan Kupacki tomorrow, where we drill down into what it is necessary to create a competitive strategy.